Subscribe to The Honest Critique for current affairs, movie, book, and product reviews. Also, make sure you press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video. The views, information, or opinions expressed during the video series are solely those of the individuals and do not necessarily represent those of The Honest Critique and its employees. The following video contains strong language which may be offensive to some viewers. Viewer discretion advised.
So hello and welcome to a very special episode we're recording today. In a first for any Knesset speaker, Amit Halevi was in India with a delegation last week on an official visit. The delegation sought to further strengthen bilateral ties, particularly parliaments, as the Met President Draupadi Murmu, Vice President Jagdeep Dhankar, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, and Foreign Minister Dr. S. Shankar. To discuss the delegation's visit, the MOU signed, and much more, we're delighted to have Amit Halevi with us. Sir is an Israeli politician currently serving as the member of the Knesset for Likud since 2023, an office previously held from 2020 to 2021. He's also serving as the Knesset's India-Israel friendship leader. So thank you so much, sir, for taking your time and speaking to us.
Thank you. Ratnadeep, it's my honor to be here. And it was a great honor to be in India last week, actually before the Passover, our holiday, our celebration. And maybe I will start with this. I told the Speaker of the House, the Upper House of India, the Lower House of India, and the Minister of External Affairs that you mentioned, Dr. Shankar. I told all of them, that when we go as Israelis abroad, especially when we are going to the Western countries, so we used to say there is the Judeo-Christian values. And this is the base that above it, we have the interest, the common interest. And I said, your speakers of the House, the both houses, that I think we need to get used, as Israel, we need to take our face to the east and to get used to what I defined as the G alliance. When I say G, like we say in Hindi, G, right? I said Ratnadeep G. I said Ekampreet G. So I said JI is the Jewish-Indic alliance, and I'm very serious about it. I mean, we are both nations has a long history. We both not only countries that fought for our freedom from the British colonialism. We are represent, actually, both of our nations represent very ancient civilizations with many common values, and we can talk about it later. So I think the Judaic Indic alliance should be on the table, and we should promote it and expand it, because we have many values and interests that are common. And this delegation was, I think, very important exactly in this point, in order to promote the connections not only between the governments and between the people, also between the parliament. And myself, as the co-chair of the parliamentarian friendship group between Israel and India, I intend to make several steps that I already start in order to promote our connections in the religious aspect, spiritual aspect, and also natural and political aspects. And that will be done, I hope, in the next years. We have a very good connections between our Prime Minister and your Prime Minister, which is also a very important platform to push forward many of our interests. So thank you very much. I'm saying it now to the Indian people general, to the very warm hospitality when we were in India. It was very exciting visit.
So as we were already talking about your visit to India with the Israeli Knesset speaker Amir Ohana, so it was the first time that an Israeli speaker visited India. So why do you think that it took 31 years for that to happen, and what were the major MOUs signed during the visit?
Okay, first of all, it was the first time actually that the Speaker of the House visited India, if that's what you have said. I didn't hear well. Anyway, it was the first time. It was the first visit of Amir Ohana as a Speaker of the House, and at all in India. I think that for some reason in the last year, it was every time, when the former speaker and the one that before him had some technical problems. But I think that since 2017, 2018, since the mutual visits of Prime Minister Modi here in Israel and Prime Minister Netanyahu in India, I think the relations, increased since this visit, that visit. I mean, Netanyahu's visit from, I think, $2 billion. We are now in, a common trade of more than 10 billion, which presents exactly the increasement of our relations. I think that the point of the MOU actually is open the gates. That's the real target of the MOU. I mean, there are, few articles there formally that were phrased exactly like, diplomatic agreements. But the major issue, the essence of this MOU, saying that the both parliament will act together. And I already have some, we made some connections with some of your parliament members, and of course the speakers of the houses. And we want to promote together many things that today are actually, small or big blocks between our in our relations, in matter of visitors. You mentioned the Ratnadeep, the Israelis that are coming to India. Yes, and there are a lot of them that come after the IDF service, after the army service, that are coming to India, and they are going there because they finding in India spiritual and beautiful areas. But in order to promote it, I mean, to promote the ways of that the visa, tourist visa, that Indian businessmen can get in order to come to Israel, many things that relates to not only to tourism, also to trade in terms of water, things that Israel has a lot of experience, since we have in Israel also a desert in the southern area of Israel. Those things were being put on the table in our visit. And the main target of the MOU is to create the fluent and direct connections between the parliaments. So I, as an Israeli parliament member, can now to be, my table, my door is open to Indians' requests. And I already did a few things in our foreign affairs ministry, and other things in order, again, to increase and to promote many things in our relations. And this was the goal. And I think also the fact that in the India media include this interview, but in dozens, maybe more, of different media channels, TV, print, whatever. This visit was published. I think it's also things that contribute to our relations. When India people see that the Speaker of our House is coming to India, respect India very much, has important meetings, include the foreign affairs minister that you mentioned, Judicial, Kaur, which is very important in the Indian government. So that's also very important to build the consciousness, the affinity between our nations.
Yes, sir. So one of the things that I would actually say to keep in mind actually while you're drafting the agreements is that we have very less number of flights operating between India and Israel, and it's very difficult to commute between the two countries. It's rather only from Delhi once or twice a week that we see flights operating. So we would love to see more flights connectivity, actually, sir. But on the second hand that I wanted to ask you the question is actually in your opening statement, You mentioned for many Jews, India is the first word of prayer every day. And while I understand where this comes from, that Jews have never faced persecution in India, why do you say that India is the first word of prayer every day? And what was your personal experience visiting India?
First of all, about the visit, you know that I came to India. I think it took us 6 hours, maybe less even, because the agreement with Oman, so the flight between Israel and the hours, I mean, to fly between Israel to India is very much more short. I mean, in terms of the time, and it's easier. And I think in the following summer, sorry, so El Al also will have the flights between Tel Aviv and Delhi, and Tel Aviv and Mumbai. So there will be more flights, Ratnadeep, so you can. And besides, you know, in the way back, we went through Bahrain, which also, you know, you take a connection, but again, it's enable us, all of us, to have more accessibility to one each other. That's about the flight. And by the way, I'm sure it will be more and more, because when the Israeli and Indian businessmen, young people that come to take the tour, come to see each other, so you will see it, you know, everyone became ambassador of visiting the other state, and the numbers will increase, and the flights also will be in the appropriate number. The second thing you asked, sorry, again, for many Jews is the first word of the prayer.
Yeah.
Yes, because yes, I said you're the chairman of the ICCR, Dr. Vinay, and other people that I met. I show them that in our Siddur, in our book of prayer, actually the first word is India. India in Hebrew means, the Hebrew word is Hodu. There are two meanings to this word in Hebrew. One meaning is to know, to admit that all this prosperity, all this wealth, all this is coming from God, is coming from one source, and not only admit it, also thank for it. So this is in Hebrew the meaning of Hodu. Hodu, India, means thank for all this beauty of nature, thank for all the things that you, all the presents, big and small presents that you get over your life. And this is the first word of the praying, because first of all, you should be, you know, you should not be, you should thanks for the good that you get. And I think this is, by the way, one of the common values. We talked about common values for the Judeo-Indic values. So one of them, I think that it's also in India. I met people that are see all the, you know, that appreciate the beauty, appreciate the prosperity, appreciate the wealth that they get, and they see it as a God gift. And that's what I meant. And more than that, I will tell you that in Israel, in the Hebrew culture, and I think it's also something that is similar in your culture, there is no contradiction between the spiritual dimension to the natural dimension. I mean, there are many cultures that you need, you know, to hate the life, or to take away from life and from the ordinary way of life in the nature in order to be spiritual. Of course, there is such of it. By the way, in the Judaism also, and in the Hindu culture, in the Buddhism, in the Sikkim, in many you know, sub-religions that you have in India. But in general, there is no contradiction. It's a very important, especially in contact to the Christian world. We love the nature. We love the nature. We see it as, God creation, and we love it. And not only love it, we have a role to make it better, to perfect it. This is one of the commands, maybe the first one, by the way, of God to the first human being on earth. Yes, enjoy the world and make him better. And in India, although again there are many, of course, types and many versions of thinking, but in general, I saw that this concept of building the world, a state that it's for one side very, very traditional state, traditional country, traditional society, and from the other hand, a modern society, yes, that look to the future, that looking for hope, looking for better future. This is something very deep, by the way. In the Muslim culture, the point, the time that they, the essence of the religions, we want to be in 622 Hijrah. We want to go back to the old times. In general, again, I mean, there are nuance in every religion, every culture, there are nuance, but in general, the Muslim world see himself as the vision, the redemption is to be there. Yes. In the Christian world, from the other hand, they have a part of the mother religion, the Judaism, that gives them the like in the evangelized world that look for the future, but still there is something that takes you out of the world. In order to be a good Christian, you should not be married, you should not be but in the Judaism, we have those two things that from one side, the spiritual and the natural dimensions are not in a contradiction. Yes, and why they are not in a contradiction? Because this is actually the relations between God and a man. God say to man, you should better the world. You should be part of the world. I did only the basic materials. Take it from here forward. That's why in our culture, and I see many of my meetings in India, I saw it also that this point of to be a modern and traditional state and society is something very unique, I think. And many countries, by the way, include Bahrain and the Emirates, when I talk with them, they are talking about this point that's relevant to Israel and to India. How we are both, as I said, traditional states and modern state in the same time. And I think that's something also that we need to promote and to put it not only on our common table, but also on the humanity culture.
So now I want to talk about that. India is the second largest trading partner of Israel in Asia. How do you see our bilateral trade and military collaborations going forward? We have also seen that China is also the third largest trading partner of Israel globally, and the trade volume has only increased over the years. Given the border tension between India and China, where does Israel position itself? Could you please elaborate on that?
Okay. Look, the whole world became more and more, although there is still, as you actually said, there is still the first the power of the United States is still the strongest in the world as it seems now. So and we have a very good and a lot of years of good connections and alliance between us and the United States of America. But more and more in the recent years, not like it seems to be when the Cold War was over. It seems that we will have a world with one anchor or one superpower, and more we see different powers like blessed India and as you said, China and Russia, and things are becoming complicated. And we learned to respect the Indic foreign policy, which you called, I should remember the word, it was a new word for me in English. When you're doing a separate foreign policy, I mean, you're
dehyphenation.
Oh, definition, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in a way, every state has definition with many states. So, I hope that because of what I have said before, because India is a very traditional and modern state, because our spiritual dimension has many, many common elements, because we are both fought we both fought for our freedom, and we present, as I said, very ancient civilizations, and we have together what to contribute to the world. I hope that India will be stronger, and your economy will improve. And if we can, share things like we did in the past and today in the water industry or anything else, that we are there in India. I mean, there are in India it's not big numbers, but for Israel it is a big number. I'm talking about the people that are working in the high-tech industry in India, the Indians that are working in Israeli companies. We have several companies like this, and so I'm saying again, I am not enough. I don't have enough knowledge in order to tell you exactly about the tension in the border between China and India and what exactly Israel position or opinion in this point or in other point. We in general we're trying not to be involved where it's not necessary. You know that when it was the war with Pakistan, not only from the beginning but also I think 1999 or 90 few decades ago. So Israel stood with India, and as I said before, it's not just like that the Speaker of the House decided to do his first visit in India, because India stood up above all the other options because of our alliance and our connections. And so I think, China has a lot of interest over the world. It's a very complicated issue. In order to say something very, very cut clear now, I hope that India, in all of its dimensions, especially the economy, you became just now the biggest country in terms of populations in the world. It's a great responsibility. I think you have a great potential. I mean, there are many societies that has big numbers, but they have not the ability of the people. You have very smart, very intelligent. You can do a lot of things, and I think it's just India need to take in advance all its potential. I think your Prime Minister and ministers understanding it very well. I heard from your external Affairs Minister, Dr. Jacob Shankar, a very important and unique analyst about how India will promote, how it should develop itself in the following years. And I hope we will do it also together, but I hope there is a great future for India.
Yes, sir. Actually, that brings me to the next question that I wanted to ask you. That one of the things that both the Israelis and the Indians have shared a common trauma about 26/11. And when the Israeli speaker visited, he highlighted the need to seek action against the perpetrators of 26/11. And we haven't still seen any action being taken against them. Now, we see both the countries have faced the wrath of radical Islamic extremism. Israel faces it on a daily basis, so does our borders does. if you could talk about the areas of cooperation, especially in the field of counterterrorism, and what can India learn from Israel's strategy to deal with Islamic extremism?
First of all, here it's again a common issue. We both tackle with, as you said, the terror of extreme and radical Islamic. I think we are doing two things, and I think both are very important. First of all, the rule should be respect and be respectable by the others. I mean, we are saying it to everyone in the world, other nations, either as minorities in Israel. And I think the same rule should be in India. And I think we have the same character of being non-imperial countries. I mean, we don't have, I'll explain what I've just said. We do not have a target. We don't have a goal to take over, to conquer the whole world. No. We have our land, our territory. India has its own land. Okay, we can argue about the borders, but in general, our vision is that the Jewish people will be in the Jewish land, in Eretz Israel, and not only will be for himself, but also will share anything that he got from God and from any other sources with the whole humanity. But we don't have any, we're not aspiring to take over other places. And the same thing we are saying to the Arab or the Muslim minority in Israel. We said, if you want to be a honest and good citizen in Israel, means you respect the national identity of Israel, we will respect you. We have nothing against any individual or community in Israel. We respect you. Yes, we were in the same situation you mentioned in India. Yes, in India was the exception. Yes, there was no anti-Semitism in India all over the years. But in general, that's how we would have liked. Yes, that when we were exiled, when we were abroad, not in our land, that people and nations and states will relate us. When we were a minority, I mean, we didn't want that somebody will undermine our identity from one hand, but from the other hand, we respected a lot the nation, the state. We were patriots. So this is the formula. Ratnadeep, you are with me? This is the formula, and this is the basic concept that I think the way of tackling terror, besides the security means. The first thing is to set and be very clear about it, that we respect people, individuals, communities, their identity, no problem, but one condition: this identity or this community should respect our nation, the state, the national state, the national identity, not only not to fight it, but also to respect it. So this is the formula, and it can work between nations. For example, the Abraham Accords that we signed with 4 Muslim countries. Yes, the Emirates, Bahrain, Morocco, and Sudan. All 4 of them have mutual recognition in the national rights. Not like, by the way, the other peace agreements, which actually were ceasefire agreements and not really peace. Peace means that me and you, I mean, the both nations, recognize the identity, respect the identity of each other. Yes, and on this basis, we have financials, tourist relations, and others. So again, the fighting with terror, in my eyes, and that's, I think, we need also to strengthen it in Israel, is first of all to put the red lines. And the red lines, the border lines, are You can be individual, you can be Muslim, you can be Christian, you can be anybody, okay, if you live here in our state under our responsibility, but this identity should not be in a contradiction with our identity. The opposite. You should respect our identity. You can be patriot even for the state. If not, so you're an enemy. You cannot be a citizen and an enemy together. It's impossible. You cannot have the blue card of Israel, the ID card, yes, the identity card of the state of Israel, and to be the enemy of Israel. It doesn't go together. So you should decide. And this is the crossword. This is the junction where what we put to the minority in Israel. You should decide if you want to be an enemy. Okay, no problem. If you want, by the way, to develop your national identity, no problem. You have 22 states. You can go to Pakistan, by the way, right? Okay, so you can go also to Jordan. You can go also to Egypt, wherever. But if you want to be an Arab and Muslim citizen in the national state of the Jewish people, it's okay. Fine with us. Just you should respect the national identity of Israel, and we will be more than respect you as a human being, as a citizen, as a community. So this is the formula, and this is the first, I think, rule that we both should adopt. And the second one, which is actually the outcome of what I've just saying, to be very tough, when somebody crosses those lines, very tough. You should not able anybody to feel that he can be a citizen and an enemy at the same time. So you should be very tough, and that's exactly what, one of our leaders, Zev Jabotinsky, defined as the iron wall. Yes, iron wall of Israel means you should be very tough against your enemies and to be very cut clear about these issues. And that's exactly what we are doing. I mean, we have the moral position, as I exactly just now defined. And from this, we use the power in order that those lines will be kept over this.
Yeah, so that's a very a bold statement. In fact, I'm sure that a lot of us here in India would also like to have the same opinion, because you cannot have two ways about it. If you are enjoying the rights of being a part of the country, you should have shared responsibilities towards it as well. I'd agree with you completely, sir. In fact, I want to move on to something. Ekam had questions actually, and she will be asking after this. So you met the foreign minister regarding the acceleration of the I2U2 engagement. And and if you know that the foreign minister of our country shared quite a fan base here in India with his statements that he makes abroad. So what was your impression of meeting the foreign minister, actually, Dr. S. Shankar? And what do you see the I2U2 going forward?
First of all, we were all delegation, by the way, include our speaker, Knesset member Amir Ohana. We were very impressed from your foreign affairs minister, Jashinkar. I think he one of the things that he have said that, as I said in the beginning of this conversation, that both states are representatives actually of two ancient civilizations, and he saw it as something that we need to promote. And we appreciate the fact that India recently in some of the international forums actually sustained and in some of the votes that were against Israel. And I told Dr. Shankar that, in this visit, we have got a book of Mahatma Gandhi. And in the back cover of the book, there was a quote of Gandhi that said, Gandhi said, "I have nothing new to teach the world. Truth and nonviolence are old as the hills," something like that. So I told your foreign affairs minister that when you stand with Israel, you stand with the truth. because those both values of truth and non-violence, again, non-violence when it's not needed, when it's not serve the justice, when it doesn't come in order to implement the truth and the justice. Yes. So both are principles that, again, the Judeo and the Indic values and the Indic nation, sorry, are common for both of us. And so during the meeting, I mean, those things of strengthening this alliance between us and the standing of India with Israel in the international forums is very important for us. Again, you know, it's important for us not only because of to earn something specifically. It's important for our cultures. It's important that India will stand with the truth, will stand with the justice. And on the same thing, you know, that we supported and we still support that India will be in the Security Council of the United Nations. And we see India as a very important power in the world. And again, when you see Ratnadeep, when you see nations that have common infrastructure, you know that there is a future between us. I mean, it's not something for a year or two, you know, interest that now it's here and it's gone later. No, it's something deep. And you mentioned before that, you know, our soldiers are going to India. They find in India something. They feel the air, they feel the spirit, they feel the way of life of the Hindic people. And I think we can do much more together.
Okay, so now I would like to ask you that how do you think that these two countries move from just the label of being strategic partners to move to other areas of engagement? And what do you think are some of the future areas of engagement for the two countries, like the cultural, spiritual dialogue you mentioned?
So in this term of culture, I think we have, I think we need to do, there are many aspects. I mean, we came as the parliament, as I said before, in order to open the doors between the parliaments and maybe to solve many problems in the future that related to legislations and things that coming together with legislations. But of course, there will be a visit of the Foreign Affairs Minister of Israel, Minister Eli Cohen, and I think the Prime Minister will come next year to India. And in those meetings, there are many more practical issues that will be on the table, and I hope they will promote the relations. But about the cultural dimension that you mentioned, I think that we need to do two major things. First of all, to open an intellectual forum, common intellectual forum of Hindic, you know, authors, scientists. I mean, especially from the you know, social science and political science, and religious people. You know, we were in the Akshardham temples when we were in Delhi, and we met there also the CEO and other people. And I think we need to open a forum that will deal with those subjects that I mentioned and many others. I mean, what is the common cultural infrastructure between us? What are the values that India and Israel will fight together in the international forums? It's very important. You must know the Western world, because most of it is, you know, Christian world, and because the Christianity and the Islam and the Muslim world are our daughters in a way. So many of the Jewish efforts, many of Israel efforts are towards this direction. And if India will be on the table in this term of values, of philosophy, of way of life, of religious, yes, it's changed the whole world. I mean, it's put on, and I think you can have a great contribution for the Western world in terms of the way you live the life. Yes, your philosophy, your concept, your view, your philosophical way of philosophical view on the world. So and many of the traditional sources of whoever, Buddha, and many of your religious sources. So what I think we need to do is, first of all, to promote this level, to promote it. For practical people, they think, what it's matter that we will talk together about philosophy. No, 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 no. They mistake. They have a mistake, because if we will strengthen our philosophical alliance, this will be a great, a very strong, and it will make our relations totally different. People don't know it. When you come to the Western world, you talk business, but you have many, buzzwords. Many the conversation has a frame, a Judeo-Christian frame, and if we will create this frame together, it can change the world. I'm talking very seriously. I mean, we can present a new vision to the whole world. By the way, that it suffers for many things, because of the individualist culture, from postmodern values, from many issues. So I think we have the combination between us is very important in this term. So I'm saying two things, Ekampreet. One is to create a forum together of people like us, maybe people that, great, in our case, rabbis and philosophers, and in your side also, and to make something that it will take time, but we will publish the first Indic G book. We will publish the internet site, common internet site of the G values, and it should be more and more, and this discourse should be more and more often, and to publish it also in English, in many languages, in French, and so on. This is one thing, and the other thing is to expand the recognition of both of us, both nations, in the texts. I mean, it's not only that the IDF alumni is coming to the soldiers that list from the army and comes to India and have a tour. He needs to know more about the India culture, textbooks, all the essence of your culture, and the other way also. So it's something that can be done in India studies course in our universities, not only for people that are learning Asia international relations, and the same things in your universities and schools to do Israel studies. I mean, we need to make much more in depth the knowing each other. So these are two things, that translations of important books and to the Hindi language, or some of your languages, and so on.
Yes, sir. That lays out a plan actually for what we're gonna see the engagements in the next few months. So I have a question that which we don't often actually address when we talk about India-Israel relationship. That India at times have not supported Israel on international forums. In fact, a few days back, India voted in favor of a resolution that upholds the rights of Palestinians and asks Israel to cease its actions at the UNHRC. So does Israel sometimes get upset with the lack of support from India at times in the international forums? Like, even if we are the best of friends, I'm sure we will get upset when we sometimes don't support each other.
First of all, like I said, not a long time ago, I don't know what I don't know the event that you just mentioned, but a few weeks ago, India indeed sustained. I mean, didn't resist, didn't vote against Israel, and our speaker mentioned it, and thank your ministers. But I want to tell you something. We we make the difference between some things that in our diplomatic world, people and states and ministers need to say, because this is the politically correct to say, but day after, not to say minute after, they are calling us. And I talked about the Palestinian states, but I just must to say it. I still must to say it, but our relations are very strong, and I didn't really mean to it. I mean, I hope, if I understood your question, I hope that the India ministers will not be afraid to stand, as I said before, to stand with the truth, to stand with the justice. We are fighting for our land, Ratnadeep. We are fighting for our independence. We are fighting for our freedom. We didn't take 1 millimeter, 1 mile from any other nations. All this Palestinian lie, like every man that learned history knows that not 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 years there was no Palestinian people. It's known, but it's politics. From 1848, little less. I mean a few years before, till 1948, the year that the State of Israel was established, more than 1 million Arabs enter Israel. I mean, get in from outside, yes, from Syria, from Saudi Arabia. They get in. Why? Because the Zionist project brought prosperity for everybody, brought place to work, brought money, and brought success. And by the way, I have no sorrow that we are bringing success and bless for the whole world. This is our role. It's okay. But to say that there was here Palestinian people for thousands of years, it's a lie. And Shiloh, Bethel, Jerusalem, all those cities are the same names and in the same language, by the way, from the Bible, 3,000 years ago and more. So this is the truth. But I understand, because I'm a politician and I see this political world, and understand that from time to time there are people, even the Emirates, when they said, "Oh, I must said such a thing in the, I don't know, in the some international forum," but behind the skin and behind the behind the scene and in the closed room, they say what they think. I think in general it's about time to say the truth, not to be afraid. We have nothing against anybody. We want our justice. We want our national rights, and that's for this we are acting. And I hope also India. But I'm saying again, in general, India and Israel, in general, India and Israel are working together in many junctions of the diplomatic world.
But so we've seen the mass protests happening in Israel a couple of weeks back on the proposed judicial reforms. And we've also seen your strong viewpoints regarding the same. Why are these reforms important? And aren't they creating friction between the judiciary and the legislative?
It's very easy to talk with Indian people about the judicial reform, because I think your people knows what happened in India in 2015, I think, when the upper house and the lower house both together enormously, I think, 179 out of 180 in the upper house, and all the lower house actually it's not, in your case, it was not a regular legislation. Yes, it was amendment of the Constitution of India. And as far as I know, your Supreme Court decided that it's not suit to the basic principles of the Constitution, or something like this, some definition like this. So we are in the same area. Actually, we also do not accept, like your Prime Minister and Parliament did not accept. So we also do not accept the fact that few people, 3, 4, 5, 15 maximum, will take the decisions for the whole people, for 10 million people. Yes, it's impossible. It's anti-democratic way of life. And we actually are fighting here. I mean, all the judicial reform that we are trying to legislate in those days, now there is a break for a few weeks, but it came to the world in order to bring the power back to the people. And in my eyes, this is the main achievement of the modern time. I mean, you know that once upon a time, the king or the Caesar or whoever it was, he had the big sword. He had the power. That's why he controlled. That's why he took over the state and the people. And the big change of the French Revolution, the English, the American Revolution was that the power is brought back, was again by the people. Like Lincoln said, you know, democracy is to control the people, by the people, and for the people. So this is the main issue, and I'm very worried because we are under, you know, already 30 years of very, very activist Supreme Court that take the decision for us instead of us, without any, you know, any something in our laws that give him, that enable him, that give him the power, give him the authority to do it. So this situation must be stopped, must be changed. I think there is a big consensus in Israel. That's right, that there is a small group that got used to this, you know, invention that to control or to govern without to be the need to be elected. Yes, so this patent should be over in democratic societies. I mean, we actually moved from the sword to the vote, right? To the note that you put in the ballot. And this is the whole issue of democratic and modern and liberal way of life. And we don't want to lose it. So this is really our fight. You're right that there is a big struggle in Israel. By the way, a big struggle in Israel. And the fact that there is a big struggle in Israel, it's because that although we have a big majority in the people, in the public, we are the minority. We are still the minority in many positions, like the media, like the law, like the officers in the ranking officers in the civil service, and many other positions that over the years been taken by other people, by this minority, by the way. So this is the fight in Israel. I hope the liberals, what we call liberals, will win this fight. And in any case, we love India, as I said. So, okay, it's not, I mean, we will get over it. Whatever will be the outcome, whatever will be the result in Israel, Israel is a strong state, and I think it will stay strong state. We need this improvement. I hope we will do it now. If not, and we will do it later. So still Israel, it's very strong and very strong economy and strong from security points of view and strong culture, as we have talked in our conversation.
So the last year has seen one of the bloodiest attacks to an increasing waves of Palestinian lone wolves and thus retaliation from the Israeli army, resulting in more than 170 Palestinian deaths. Now, as we were talking before, that the international media claims that there's a chance of a third intifada. And we have seen how many countless Israeli lives were lost during the last two intifadas, actually. Now, since your government, the Likud party, is in power, of course, with your allies, So why is the Western media so concerned, number one, about your allies from the Orthodox parties to be aggressive in the West Bank policy? And is there a chance of a Palestinian uprising that you see in the near future?
First of all, regarding the numbers that you have said, we, as long as it depends in our side, there will not be one wounded or one dead man. Yes, we are fighting for our freedom. We are fighting that a family can go for a walk, can go for a trip in the Jordan Valley, for example, like last week, and the mother and her both daughter were murdered. Why? Because they are Jews, not for any other reason. Because they are Jews. Don't confuse. I mean, the charter of the mandate of the Hamas organization is in the internet. You can see it. They don't want only to take over Israel. They want to take over, like the Muslim Brotherhood vision, take the whole world. I mean, they want to everybody can be all Muslims or to be, under their regime. That's what we're talking about. When we are fighting the Hamas organization, where we're fighting Abu Mazen, what is the Fatah convenient? What is the Fatah charter, Fatah mandate? The same thing. The same thing. Again, what are the maps? In the maps of the Palestinian authorities, there is no Israel. There's no Israel. Ratnadeep. There's no Israel. There are weapons. There are no Israel. In the maps, in the schools, include, by the way, the Eastern Jerusalem schools. When they teach in math, 1+1, they teach it to kill one Jew and to kill another Jew. So how many Jews did you have killed? How many Israelis have you killed? This is something that we cannot accept, and we will not accept. So we are fighting for our food. Now, there is the Palestinian lie. I mean, the Palestinian Authority's invention, I'm not saying we were part of it in the Oslo Agreement, very bad agreement, that we actually accepted that those murders like Arafat, like Abu Mazen, will be actually the former representative of the Arabs that lives in Judea and Samaria. Very bad and very historical mistake. And I was against it then, and I think the Likud party is trying over the years, and Netanyahu is trying over the years to move this ship to a different direction. Because as one of our prime ministers said, Yitzhak Rabin, Palestinian state will be established only on the destruction of Israel. Because it's 1-0 game. Because the whole of the Palestinians' consciousness, Palestinians, you can see it in the United Nations, in every forum. Their existence is to be against Israel. The whole existence. I'm talking about not about the individuals. The individuals can live here, as I said before, and there are different options for the status of the citizen. I'm talking about the status of the land, the status, the national identity. And this is from the beginning, from 1917, from the Balfour Declaration. What is the old Balfour Declaration it's all about? What is the 22 San Remo conference and San Remo Declaration was all about? It was about the difference between the national rights of the Jewish people in the land of Israel and the individual rights, which we respect, as I've told you, every individual and every community. But national rights on the Israel land, there is only to the Israel people. All the other things are lies. And these lies are killing. When you said intifada, what do you say? That the Arab world decided a few years ago to use the Palestinian, which, as you know, and I'm sure Akam knows as well, this is the name that the Romans, yes, that Aspasianus, the Caesar of Rome, gave to the land of Israel, Palestinian, Palestina, Palestinian this is the Rome, like he said that Nablus is the Shechem city, like he said the Sketopolis is Bet Shean city, and like he said Ilia Capitolina is Jerusalem. So those are names like Palestine. Those are names that the Roman Caesars gave to those places. There was not, by the way, in order to undermine the Jewish ownership on those places, the Jewish heritage, the Jewish tradition. So we are not excited for it, but we need to fight it in the international forum, just as I am doing now here. I mean, to explain why this Palestinian lies has nothing to do with the truth, with the justice, with the history, but for many political reasons and international reasons, so many countries are cooperate with them in order to be against Israel. And there are more and more people that know the truth today and join Israel, as you saw it in the Abraham Accords. Again, what is Abraham Accords? One more sentence about it. Abraham Accords, the most important section, the most important article in the Abraham Accords, number 6, if I remember well, is that both nations will cooperate and will act according due to their common father, ancient common father Abraham. Okay? So means we are the sons of Israel, was the sons of Yitzchak and the sons of Abraham. We are both are the child of the same common father. This is very important. The Arabs, the Oslo agreement is exactly the opposite. Yes, the Palestinians said, we are not recognizing your rights. We are recognizing the existence, till we kill you. So there will not be, you will not be exist. So we are not ashamed to act with our power when the justice is in our side. If the Arabs, never mind if it's in Haifa or in Ramallah, want to live here as individuals, as communities that respect the national state of Israel, the national identity, the national Jewish identity of Israel, welcome. If they want to fight, they will find the iron wall, as I mentioned before. And this is the formula, and I know it cost a lot for us also, this war. We lost only, in the recent weeks and months, we lost 2 sisters, before 2 brothers, and before another 2 brothers, just in the 2 months ago, the recent 2 months. And but we are here in order to fight for our independence, for our freedom, and we are not going to. We have no intention to give up. And this is a long war. Part of it is to explain the justice of this war, and that's what we should do.
So now I would just like to conclude and say that thank you so much for taking out your time and speaking to us. It was an absolute honor hosting you, and we learned a lot. And we actually do agree with all the things you said about Indian and Israelis. Like, we do have a lot in common in our culture and in our history. So we look forward on deepening the Indian-Israel ties, as they only say that the sky is the limit when it comes to our partnership. Salam and namaste from India.
Thank you very much. It was my honor. And as I said, Ekam G and Ratnadeep G, we have the G Alliance, and I hope we will promote it. I didn't get into the details because especially spiritual issues are needs. I don't know if the Zoom is a good media for it, but as we already set between us, you come to Israel, so we can do it face to face, hopefully soon. So namaste
We want to know.
and Danyavad.
Oh, thank you.